Welcome. It's Bruce Scholl, and it's daily. No, it's not daily summary. What am I saying? My goodness gracious. This is Unscrew the News with Bruce Scholl. I'm excited to have you here and excited for my opportunity to talk to my next guest. She is a returning guest and coming to us from the great state of Virginia down in the United States, the most freest of America. And anyway, I'm excited to have her on because I wanted to talk to her about recent elections, especially in New York City and what's going on there. So I've invited Xi Van Fleet. She is, like I say, a returning guest, and she is the author of Mao's America, and she has a new book coming out. I want to just make sure that I mention it here before we get started. January of 2026, Made in America by Xi Van Fleet is about to hit the bookstores. So we will talk about that in the near future. But Xi Van Fleet draws on her experiences surviving Mao's Cultural Revolution to expose communist tactics infiltrating the U.S. education, politics, media, and often highlighting CCP influence in local governments and democratic policies. She critiques globalist alliances like the papacy's stances on Islam and migration as threats to the Western liberty. All right, I want to welcome Xi Van Fleet. Thank you so much for joining me. It is such a pleasure to have you again. I always enjoy our conversations, and I know that they're so critical today to help awaken, Americans and Canadians to this infiltration that we've got going on. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I know that you recently had, and I just have to make mention of it, but you just recently had Thanksgiving, because we have to be even more stalwart in our thanks and in our prayer, I believe, in this time, because it is an extraordinary time. And I know that we had originally scheduled just right about Thanksgiving. So I'm glad that you're joining me today, though.
Yes.
Did you have a good time with your family and over Thanksgiving?
Oh, yes, we did. But also, I have to say the sad reality is that there's a lot of families now falling apart. Torn apart by politics, because there's so many people so indoctrinated, and it showed in family level, and so it is not always like before, a family time of reunion, of sharing, stories and just being together. A lot of families won't even meet because they stand on the opposite of this ideology, which is dividing America and Canada and all the free world. So that is a very sad situation, and I have to just mention it. It's not all about happiness. Family.
No, it certainly isn't.
No, not anymore.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that is partially why I wanted to talk to you today, is because of this divide, because of this propaganda and the lies that are being spread. And you mentioned an aspect of it that I guess I was maybe missing. Originally, I'd wanted you to come on and talk about this latest character that's been elected, and I think by an extraordinary amount. I can't see how that's completely true, that he was elected by 84% or 89%, to this mayorship in New York City, that being Mamdani. But what you wanted to speak about was the citizenry, the people that voted for him, and how they got to that decision. What's your take on this latest mayor for New York City?
Yes, and there's a lot of news coverage and about this. This is an extraordinary event, and I think there's no way to water it down. He is openly a communist. And because he not only he talked about the cultural Marxism that people are already familiar with, DEI and CRT and those things, but he absolutely used the quotations and from the classic Marxism. It sounds so familiar to people like me because that's how we indoctrinate growing up in China, such as take over the means of production. That is communist revolution. That's what happened in China. Not only means of production, means of private ownership. And he said that as well. That we're going to get rid of private ownership, and the government were taking over and everything, and including grocery stores, which was such a joke.
Well, to me, that's the most chilling part, because we've been talking, or our socialist parties here in Canada have been talking about how gouging the grocery store owners are. And I can see that, I can hear that, talking to people like you have alerted me to this infiltration of our words. And anyway, yeah, they want to take over the grocery store and run it properly, as a government should.
Yes, and that's what I lived through. And everything was government run, including grocery stores, including schools, including everything. And when they control it, that and you absolutely become a serf. You become a slave, and if you don't obey, you're going to go hungry. If you don't obey, you're going to end up in gulags. That is the result of total control. That's what's called really totalitarian state. They not only control the means of production and the natural resources, they also control your mind. And that's why they have school controlled. And if you show that you somehow have questions, you are going to be in trouble. And I'm talking about questions. Okay, just question some of the reality. You notice something that's not quite right, and if you dare to ask questions, you're going to be sent to the re-education camp, which is gulags.
Right. So I want to highlight one of the sayings that I believe came from China, and that was maybe I've got this wrong, but it's the nail that sticks up gets the hammer. Or the bird that sticks its head out of the window gets the. Do you know that one?
The second one is the Chinese so-called wisdom, and that is the wisdom that my parents try to teach the three of us, and that's what the Chinese parents try to teach all their children. Just shut up. Just don't say anything, because if you say anything, you will be the bird that stick out your head and you'll get shot first. Right. And so self-censorship is a norm in China. So you, especially in Mao's era, so you watch what you say. And so you everyone end up lying. And because lying is safe, truth is dangerous. And that's what's going on here in the West. And especially in UK, and I know in Canada as well, especially in UK. And if you say anything in social media, the police will show up at your door, and you may get arrested. I think some got arrested already.
Okay, so that brings up a story that I wanted to touch on, because it is so relevant. Is the I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'm not going to go there. The Irish teacher in Ireland has now been thrown into jail for life because he would not use the pronouns of a student in his class. And he's going because he's just going to stand up for what's right, as opposed to, continuing down the lie of using pronouns. So we're seeing it all over the place. One of the things I wanted to highlight as well was we're seeing it right here in Calgary. We just had another pastor. And I mentioned to you before we hit record, we had another pastor, Derek Reimer, here in Calgary, arrested yesterday because he would not apologize for his protest of the drag queen story hour. Yeah, a couple of years ago, and now he's been thrown into the Calgary Remand Center, and another pastor Arthur Pawlowski, which is he's standing up during COVID and speaking to his parishioners, is out there obviously banging the drum and trying to let Canadians know that this is not the time to be quiet and to stand up and voice our opinion, obviously to break through the lies. But our government and your government and governments around the world continue to have the boot on the neck.
Yes.
So let's get into back to Mamdani and how he got into power, or how he came into this mayorship. I know it's just being a mayor for a city, but to me it seems like it's a very powerful position, being one of the biggest cities in North America, and he certainly is wielding the power. You mentioned that he's talking about statifying, I don't know what you want to call that, but statifying the grocery stores and controlling the food, which
housing,
controlling the
government housing,
government housing for sure. And more than likely, did he talk about UBI, which is the universal basic income? Because I know that we've been talking about it here in Canada.
I can't recall specifically, but he was talking about basically government is the solution to problem. There's no problem too small and too big that the government can't solve. That's his.
Wow.
That's what he said.
That is what he said. Yeah.
Yeah. The government is the answer. And who does the best? China. China does the best. China, the government controls everything. And we talk a little bit, and you said someone, said that Mamdani is different from any other Democratic mayors before him. That's true. That's true. But the difference is today is that he's openly talk about this communist doctrines, communist ideologies, and then the voters love it. Yeah, the voters vote him in because they those ideas resonate with them, and mainly it's the government is the solution for everything, and free stuff from the government is what they are after. And so that to me is more dangerous than when we have some kind of politicians, extreme politicians. Those extreme radical politicians or politicians who want to be, they would have no market if the population become radical. And that is the sad situation. The population become radical. They share those ideas from Mamdani. And why? Here's the question: why in the freest country in the world, those people want to, the freest country is a capitalist country, they want communism. And main reason is that education system has been producing generations of Marxists. And so we see it now in our elections, and also we see them in the Democratic Party. They basically has transformed itself into a communist party. So education is the main reason for this, and that's why they will do anything to be in control of education. That's why school board race, to me, is the front line of the fight between those two, between the traditional Americans and the communists. And
yeah, so you actually got your start because you weren't very outspoken, but you got your start at the school board level because you were speaking out against the DEI and the CRT. Is that correct? Is that where you came?
Yeah. Exactly. And I always believe that school board is really the real battlefield. And so I know that Canada doesn't look very good. I think that there are just so many people in Canada, they seem to love socialism. And but it's not, to me, is that they haven't really suffered enough yet for them to realize it. But we don't want to go there. We don't want to the American people here to really find out how bad socialism is by really experiencing it, that will be too late. So we do need to wake people up. And to me is that I can do that because I can tell them I was there. I've been there, done that. And that's my story. You don't want to wait until you really have no rights and your government control everything. By then, it won't be easy to take it back.
Okay, I have one story to share with you from my guest last night. I told you about Roger Song, lawyer here in Calgary, lived through the Cultural Revolution in China, and came over here and became a lawyer here in Calgary at the age of 46. Anyway, he told me a story just last night. He said that when he was a child, that his mom would get 20 eggs for the month, and she would figure out who got an egg and who would have obviously the precious resources that they had, and it sounds so far-reaching. It sounds so out of the norm for us. It's hard to believe that that's what you may have gone through yourself. How do you impart that in people that this is so unreal when you hear these stories?
This is something that people don't understand, and it's people in the West. They're so used to plentiful and prosperity, and the food is just there. All you need to do is go to grocery store. And now they're talking about affordability, and that's another story. The unaffordability is created by big government. But let's just stay with the food. They just feel like food was never an issue. You just go there and get it. But growing up in South China, and socialism cannot produce. That is absolutely, they cannot produce the pie. And right. So the pie shrink to nothing, and everything has to be rationed. But it's also a way for them to control the people, everything. And during the Cultural Revolution, even salt was in short supply. Mm-hmm. And there is a very, very big salt mine not far from my city. And it's been supplying salt for that region for, I don't know, hundreds of years. But during Cultural Revolution, salt was in short supply. And everything, soap is rationed, toothpaste rationed, food absolutely rationed. And I think every person has like a half kilo or 1 kilo of meat a month, and eggs as well. And milk is only for infant. It's absolute scarcity. And not only that, long lines. So right. Our life is spent in queues, long queues, and queue for one thing. You stay in the queue for like 2 hours to get some meat. And then you have to go to another queue to get some noodles, for example. And that is how they control people. You're so busy every day, try to just get the food on the table. I think they figure that you have no energy for
revolution,
resistance or revolution.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is the key, isn't it? I mean, I think
absolutely.
We see that today in Canada, is that people are struggling just to pay the bills, and they're working sometimes 3 and 4 jobs, right? Just to keep food on the table for their families, as the taxes on our homes continue to go up, the prices of our utilities continue to go up. All of the groceries continue to go up, gas continues to go up, and it's really just a tightening of the noose. Would you not say that that
is really applied to the working people, the working families, and the middle class who really work hard and pay taxes. But it's not for those people that are on welfare. So you have heard about the government shutdown, and then the SNAP.
Yes.
EBT. And I watched a lot of videos on X. those people absolutely feel so entitled. They are so enraged that their free food is threatened. And then Trump administration dare to require able-bodied people to work in order to get qualified for SNAP. They're talking about a revolution. That is just amazing. They're talking about going to store. If you don't give to us our food, we're going to take it. So this is how they create their so-called proletarian. And they're revolutionaries. You give them food and you make them dependent. When that dependency is threatened, they're going to the street.
Right.
And
they've created the army, right? So the EBT. So what's astounding, and I'm sure that my viewers are already following this, but it was about 43 million people they found out were on SNAP and EBT benefits, which is free food. And obviously there was a lot of fraud. Obviously there's a lot of people that were taking advantage of the system. I mean, I heard about people that were selling it so they would sell their benefits, obviously, so that they could make extra money. And I'm sure there was a lot of.
And before Biden administration, 17 million were on SNAP, and now it's 45 million.
Wow!
And once I was in the Chinese Asian grocery store, and there are two men in front of me, and they are South Asian. I don't know exactly which country, maybe India, maybe Pakistan. One was like in his late 30s, another probably early 60s, and they have the coupon.
Yeah.
And I was like, why my tax dollar should go to those people? They are able-bodied, they are stronger than I, and then they get government free handout from the government. And those people will be loyal to the party that gives them the stuff, and that is the Communist Democratic Party. And that's how they buy votes. That's how they want more and more people to be on the welfare system. So that's how you control them.
Okay, I'm going to just break this up a bit. I want to show this video that you had shared on your X in regard to these young women that were out for re-education. And I want to play a bit of it, but I thought it was quite extraordinary, the language that they used. Do you mind if I just play that here now?
Yeah, you see that I...
Excuse this short interruption. This episode has been brought to you by Nugget Stacker. Buy your silver and gold online, and they will ship it to your door anywhere in Canada. With stock market instability around the world, enjoy the safe haven of silver and gold. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
You see that I uploaded one with subtitle. Yes.
Yes, you bet. I got that one for sure. Stand by. So do you mind giving us a little bit of background for people to understand it? I know that this is an Italian interviewee or some sort of a journalist from Italy. And so you had said that there was that cameras at that time were so expensive and so out of the norm that you hadn't seen any pictures of yourself even when you were this age. But can you give a little bit of background on what they're up to? Yeah.
I'm very surprised, and I'm very glad that a lot of people showed interest in it. And I had like 8,000 likes. Okay, this is a really a rare footage of this. We call it the sent down youth, sent down to the countryside. This was taken in 1971. So those girls were Red Guards. Those girls are the ones that help Mao to take down his political enemies from every level of government, from central government all the way to local government. So they did the job. They destroyed the civilization, and they did all that. And that is their reward. They were sent to the countryside to be re-educated once they are no longer useful. They were idiots, but once they are no longer useful, that's what Mao did to them. And so they were middle school graduate. They're not even high school kids. They went to the countryside. And so this Italian journalist, and there was no Western, very few Western journalists were given the permission to do this, but she was there, and she interviewed Deng Xiaoping and Mao, and then I was surprised she was even allowed to go to the countryside and interview these young girls. So what's really sad is you can see that they working in the fields with the peasants, digging whatever, maybe digging a little channel for irrigation or something. I did the same thing. But what's extraordinary is that they gave the standard answer to all the questions. So they basically lied. They said that they should be here to get re-education because the Chinese educational system indoctrinated them, which is just ridiculous. So they feel like they need to go to the countryside and then learn from the peasants, because the peasants are the true revolutionaries. They are the true communists. So they were saying, yes, they love to be there. They are determined to spend their entire time there to build the socialist countryside. The last girl said the same bullshit while tears rolling down her eyes, from her eyes. So that is the people, young people, punished by Mao, and then yet they continue to repeat the lie, even though they know it's a lie, because they know if they say that if they say the truth, they will be punished.
Well, they were the punishers, remember? They're the Red Guard, and they were the punishers.
Yes.
Now they're in a position that if they were to speak out, they would be punished. So let's just play it out and let's see what.
Even more.
It's quite interesting.
在北京是哪个高中毕业吗？初中。
初中毕业。
初中毕业。哪个中学呢？
我是女十中的，他是92中。
你们这来的时间多长？多久？
快3年了，2年多。69年来的嘛。
你们在这准备长期干下去吗？
准备长期干下去。做这个就是安家落户、长期扎根农村的这个思想准备。
你们在这演革命胜利了，有什么感想？
你看吧，好了，这个学校中能在校的嘛，从思想方面哈，感受还是比较深的。因为在课堂上受刘少奇那个毒害还比较深的，所以从接受皮亚中能在校2年多呢，从思想上真正体会到自己在感情上和皮亚中的距离还是比较远的。而且在这感受，我们觉得哈，到农村来以后，那个贫下中农吧，就对毛主席的感情最深。我们以前也讲哈，但是具体在哪儿我们体会不到。到农村来以后哈，反正就是我们来到农村的第一天呢，贫下中农见我们以后，第一句话问的就是你们见没见过毛主席？毛主席他老人家身体健康不健康啊？通过这个问的这个问题吧，当时确实是我们特别受感动哈。再一个，这个地方就是革命圣地，反正那个贫下中农呢，经常就在这个就是革命传统这方面啊，对我们经常进行教育。再就是贫下中农，他们无产阶级立场最坚定，反正就是主要来这学习吧，还主要是从这个接受最教最深的感触就是那个对于无产阶级这个立场吧站得稳了。
是的，支援世界革命，为建设社会主义新农村的吧，我们愿意一辈子在农村艰苦奋斗一辈子。
Interesting. I have a couple of things to say about it, but what do you have that you were thinking about when watching them?
Yeah, first of all, that really remind me of the time I spent in the countryside for 3 years, and I really saw myself in them, and the clothes, the hairstyle is just.
Yeah.
I'm just a few years younger than them, but they are forced to lie. That is the to me is the most tragic result of being controlled by communists. And you have to lie, and and with a smile, even though you can't control the tears. So that's what I would say. The same thing if it happened to me, because if I say that it's awful that I was sent here, it's not fair. You know what? I won't be in the countryside. I will be in prison.
Right. Or in the dirt.
Yeah.
Or in the dirt. I was noticing the body language from the girls. You know, it was they were saying one thing, but there was definitely a feeling of they were wronged, but they knew it. That's what it felt like to me. And I don't know if you noticed watching the video, there was a person behind them that was very much like
those are the peasants. Yeah, the local peasants. They were saying, "What are you talking about? Get back to work." Right?
Yeah, that's right. But but also the word, how they use the word peasants, I thought was very interesting.
Actually, that's my translation. I just want to make it short. What they're using is the proletarian peasant. Proletarian. That's what Mao tell everyone, that their revolution is for the proletarian, to liberate them and to make them the master of the new China. And that was total lie. You could see they become serfs. Right. And then they send more young people from the city to join them to become the serfs.
And so there's a hierarchy, though, right? I mean, these girls, and yourself included, were sent to these to work with the proletarians. Is that the same as a peasant? I mean, is that
no? This is a long story, and so many people are not aware of. So when the CCP took over China, and they divided China into two classes. One is urban, one is rural, with this so-called household registration. So you become where you are, and you can't move to another place. For example, if you are a peasant, you're forever a peasant. Your children are forever a peasant. You cannot just go to the city and become a city dweller. In cities, if you are registered, for example, in a small town, you can't move to a provincial capital because you like it there better. No, you're stuck there. In my city is Chengdu, and I can't just pack up and say I want to live in Beijing, and it is still like that today.
Really?
So the peasants, they went to the cities to work. They were the engine that the cheap labor and that drove the economy. But they had no right to stay there and join the social welfare or by the government. For example, their children cannot go to school in the city they work, and because they don't have the household registration. That is absolutely a way to control the population. And now, after all these years, now this about 300 peasant workers, or they call it migrant workers, no longer could find the jobs because factories are closing, business shutting down, and now they don't know what to do. And after all these years of working in the factories with the minimum pay, with no rights and no safety guards, now they are forced to go back home to do what? They don't even know how to farm. And that become the major issue for the CCP. And so usually the peasant workers go back to their hometown villages during Chinese New Year, which is in 26, it's February. Usually that happened during the holiday season. And because after years of work, they want to go home and reunion. That's like their Chinese Thanksgiving in many ways. Yeah. But this year, people already packing and going back because there's no jobs. And 3 months ahead of the Chinese New Year, and the government is panicking because they know when the people go back, they'll become poor and they won't even be able to feed themselves because there's nothing there.
I was going to say that they're going to starve them because there isn't, they don't own anything. They don't have cattle. They don't have the ability to grow a garden. They don't have the ability to grow a farm, right? I mean, it's all dependent on the government.
Land belongs to the state. Right. Yeah. So, but those people, they don't even know how to farm. They have to learn from scratch because from very young age, they've been to the city and doing all sorts of work, paid very little, and had no rights. And now they become the threat to the regime because if you have nothing to lose, in what you do. Yeah. Yeah.
You dissent.
Yeah.
You speak out.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting times, very, very interesting. And, we're seeing it all around the world, this clamping down on the censorship, right? Obviously you had seen this living through the Cultural Revolution. We're seeing it. I don't know if you saw this. I just noticed this morning, is that the EU fined X 120 million euros for not censoring Europeans on X. More of this authoritarian, totalitarian, Marxist, communist, whatever you want, whatever that is so pervasive now. It's now everywhere. Anyway, it looks like JD Vance said basically screw you to the EU.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but thank you for telling me. But that has been ongoing, and I have been telling everyone, who bother to listen, that today's EU is yesterday's USSR. And so they become the headquarters of communism in a new phase, that is cultural Marxism, or we call woke. They have been the one doing exactly what the USSR has did during the Cold War, and they have been exporting and enforcing this woke ideology to its members, and then that's why they hate Poland. That's why they hate Hungary, because those countries reject them, because those countries lived through the horror of communism, and then they don't want the EU to tell them what to do. They don't want the EU for them to open up their borders. So that is a very interesting history repeating, that today we see the West become the one that's exporting, including America, including especially the elite universities. They're the ones exporting the Marxist ideology worldwide.
Okay, so here's the post. It's from Marianofal. The EU just fired a $120 million €120 million at the X, and it backfired immediately. The European Commission has finally done what it has been threatening for nearly 2 years. It slapped Elon's X with a €120 million fine, and the first ever punishment under the Digital Services Act. Officially, Brussels says this is about transparency, interface design, and research access, which is all bullshit. Unofficially, everyone knows what it's really about. Europe wants control over online speech, and X refuses to play hall monitor for the EU bureaucracy. And Washington just noticed. JD Vance did what any hero would have done. The man didn't bother with diplomatic phrasing. He called it exactly what it is: a fine for not engaging in censorship. And the EU should be supporting free speech, not attacking American companies over garbage. Elon Musk's response, 2 words: much appreciated. And the exchange, that exchange matters because it crystallizes the growing fracture between Washington and Brussels on digital governance. The EU says the internet is an environment police. The US, at least the current White House, says speech as something to protect. This is not a small disagreement. It goes to the core of whose values define the next century of the web. Yes, very interesting times.
The speech is not a small matter. It is a huge matter. That's why they want to shut it down, because if you shut down the speech, the next thing you can do is shut down thinking. And that's what Mao did in China. So people like me could not think. How could you think when you have no information, when you when everything was just from the party? And so, yes, this is a fight, and this is the fight to define the future for our free world. So I'm just so glad I'm here in America, the last stand of a free world. We have to save America in order to save the free world, including Canada.
Yeah. Well, I know that you and I have talked briefly. I've told you what we're going through, and we are currently in the province of Alberta. And I may have mentioned this to you before, but we are in the process of seceding, and we actually just got word from our premier, and they've made one last, here, I'm just trying to look for it here quickly. We just got word that our premier, who we didn't think was necessarily on side with sovereignty, has now emboldened our demand for a referendum. And I'm just quickly looking for it here. Sorry, I apologize. But what they did was they strengthened our ability to call for a referendum, and we won't have to necessarily jump through the hoops that we were being forced to go through. So the long and short,
self-determination.
Yeah, the long and short of that story is that we had to go to court, and a judge had to decide whether it was constitutionally okay to actually have a petition. And now our government has said we no longer have to jump through that hoop. And wish us luck and pray for us, please, Xi.
Yeah, absolutely.
The spring of this year coming up, we are going to have a referendum, and the 5 million or so Albertans get a chance to vote for getting out of Canada. So it's going to get very interesting here. Yeah, it's going to get really interesting.
That's very encouraging news. Absolutely. Yeah, because you can see what happened to federations for big.
Excuse this short interruption. This episode has been brought to you by Nugget Stacker. Buy your silver and gold online, and they will ship it to your door anywhere in Canada. With stock market instability around the world, enjoy the safe haven of silver and gold. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Big organizations, they're all infiltrated and controlled by Marxists. EU, United Nations, now it's a communist organization, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, all this big, even papacy, they are all now infiltrated and controlled by the globalists and communists, Marxists and wokeists. And to fight, we really have to get our sovereignty of a country, of a state, of a province, of a local, and of our school board.
Okay, I'm just going to talk briefly about this bill because I need to bring it forward and put it out there and let you know about it. But here it is. Keith Wilson, one of our greatest lawyers here in Alberta. The Alberta government has announced amendments to the Citizens Initiative Act. This is Bill 14, reaffirming citizens' right to trigger an independence referendum. This immediately ends the court challenge that was seeking to block the Alberta Prosperity Project's petition question and restores the democratic intent of letting Albertans decide their future. It is a great day, December 5th. 2025. We have now got this to move forward, and I'm shivering, and I've got goosebumps because I'm so excited. But okay, let's let's talk about briefly. Let's talk about Virginia. My goodness, you taken a couple of steps backward again in your
Yes,
state.
absolutely. Very sad. Yeah. So here is something that it's beyond me. I don't know how. I just don't. Especially our Attorney General position.
Yes.
That now Virginians choose someone who threatened to kill his political enemy and then kill the kids in front of the parents, and because they deserve it, and that he believed that's the only when they suffer personally would they come and talk about policies.
Jay Jones, is that his name?
Huh?
Jay Jones, was that his name?
Yeah, Jay Jones. He's a communist.
What is up with that?
Yeah. Yet Virginian voted for them. So here is what I think what happened. It's not that Virginia chose them. It is many Republican Virginians did not bother to vote. Many people, and after 2024 election, I'm talking about conservatives, feel like job down. Okay, now we're in control.
Right.
Trump is in the White House and everything is just fine. And 45,000 Virginians, they are registered Republicans. They voted for in the past, did not show up to vote. Wow. And that is our problem. And that's something I try to tell people, to fight for our freedom, to fight against communists. It's not one election. It's not two elections. It's forever. If you want to keep your freedom, you have to fight for it. And it is always, it's not just a one-time thing. And it's started everywhere, local, in our school board, and all the way to presidential elections. So, also the election in Nashville.
Yes.
You're aware? It's if Donald Trump did not take the action and endorse the candidate, a lot of Republicans did not even know there was a special election.
Right.
And Democrats almost got away because they mobilized, they organized. And that's something I'm trying to tell people.
Yeah.
Communists are best at organizing, mobilizing, and even paying voters to get what they wanted. So we have to, conservatives, we have to really understand that. It's our responsibility. It's not Trump alone that can save America. It's all of us. We have to understand it. We have to pay attention and then take action. And take action, especially for election.
Well, I think Ronald Reagan said it was your freedom is only one generation away from losing that freedom.
Yes.
I think it's even more desperate at this time. And you mentioned this, and I was going to bring this up as well, is that the communists and the liars, let's just call them what they are, the liars have orchestrated and have organized so well. They have got this very militant organization that they move forward as a team, and everybody's on track to do the same thing, say the same thing. Yeah. And they're very, very organized. Well, they do have the media, so they obviously use that to their greatest benefit. Yeah. But conservatives, you said it already. I'm with you on this. Conservatives have to wake up. If you're out there and you like liberty, you like freedom, you like family, and you like maybe Christianity, whatever your religion is, I don't care. But if you want to have that ability to choose, you have to wake up and you have to get engaged today.
Today.
Yeah, not tomorrow, not the next week. Yeah, you have to get up off the couch and get involved everywhere, like you said, in the school board, in the municipal government, in your city, your town, your
church.
Yeah, in your church. Absolutely. God bless you. G, I really, really appreciate this conversation. It's been fiery and exciting. Is there anything else you want to leave off our soon to be burgeoning, wakening conservatives?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's a choice. If you think that it's too late, we lost, then you really you surrender. And so, if you think the freedom is worth surrendering, I have nothing to say. If you understand what that is, when you have no freedom, and then you have to fight, you have to take action.
Mm-hmm. God bless you. God bless your family. Thank you so much for taking the time to share that with our audience and the good people that'll be watching this in the next little while. I appreciate all of your time and all of your. You know what? We got to talk about your book. Hang on one second. We're going to talk about your book when you actually when it comes out in January. But we gotta talk about it now. Hang on one second. Let's just briefly talk about you, and this is where we can find you
if you
on
can
X.
pull out the new book cover, and then because the subtitle is very long, and sometimes I get
I've got Mao's America, but let me just.
You can go to the Amazon and just search X.I. Van Fleet and Made in America. But while you're doing that, I can just tell you a little bit about it. So my first book, Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning, it's about the parallels between the two cultural revolutions, one in America and one in China, which I experienced. So the second book, go down. Can you go down? Yeah. Can you just open up just the image? Yeah. So this book is about the story how CCP came into being and how it became so powerful, so wealthy, and it became the greatest threat to America. It's all because United States itself.
Really?
And when I say we, I'm talking about the United States, the government, the leftist journalists, the greedy corporations. All of them are responsible for helping the rise of the CCP. And so, and people, a lot of people are anti-CCP. They talk about CCP. They talk about CCP over there. And I want people to look inward. The problem is here. Without the help of the United States, China has just absolutely no way to become the world's second biggest economy and become our greatest threat. It's all our doing. And because we have people here who are either communists or they don't understand communists, and that is our problem. So to solve the problem, we have to help people to wake up.
To understand exactly where it came from. So I'm just in case somebody just listening to this, I'm going to read out the whole name of the book. Made in America: The Hidden History of How the U.S. Enabled Communist China and Created Our Greatest Threat.
That is the story. That is the story. And most people, I'm talking about political leaders as well, don't understand this part of the history. And when you don't understand history, you let history repeat.
Absolutely. I keep saying that over and over again. If you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. And we've made mistakes in the past. When you tear down those statues, when you change the names of certain things throughout your city and your country, you are now erasing that history, and you're going to repeat those mistakes. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, here's your book. It's coming out in January, but you can pre-order now, it says?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. God bless you. Thank you so much for doing this. And I look forward to, once this comes out, we got to have you back, and we'll talk about this book again. Okay. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, if you don't mind sticking around, I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience, and you and I can catch up for 10 seconds after this. Stick around. All right. Thanks very much for watching Unscrew the News. And I've had my extraordinary guest, Xi Van Fleet, the survivor of the Cultural Revolution, Mao's Cultural Revolution, here again. Obviously, one of my favorite guests to have join us, because we have got to wake up Canadians and Americans alike. to the threat that is threatening our way of lives. So thanks for being here. Make sure to get more eyeballs on this information. Get it out to your social media, share it with your friends and family, and clip it up if you like to, and send it out to anybody you like to. So I appreciate you being here. Let's keep your head on a swivel. Let's stay sane together. This is Bruce, and I'm out of here.
Thank you so much for watching Unscrew the News. I appreciate your participation in freedom in Canada. Share this information and help others to wake up. God bless.